If you live anywhere that's ever been cold, you've probably been told to wear a coat or you'll catch a cold. My parents told me this all the time before going outside, so every time I go for a walk, I instinctively reach for my coat without ever asking why. Well, this is me asking why. Why do we wear a sweater or a jacket or a coat in the cold? Can not wearing a sweater actually make you sick? And if not, why do people still believe it? Where did this belief even come from? And lastly, and probably the most reasonable, what actually prevents a cold? And before we continue, I just wanted to give you a disclaimer. I will be using the words flu, cold, and illness interchangeably, as well as coat, jacket, and sweater, even though they don't technically mean the same thing. When watching a health mythbuster video, they told me that no, wearing a sweater does not affect whether or not you get sick. But of course, we can't trust everything we see on the internet. So this is a video I compiled with my own research, and after watching this video, feel free to do your own. My sources are linked in a document in the description below if you want somewhere to start. In short, the answer really is no. No, your jacket does not create a magical buffer between you and germs just because it's cold. Colds are caused by viruses, and your sweater doesn't make you more or less attractive to viruses than you already are. They don't care about how you dress. They just want someplace to duplicate. And no, jackets don't magically make you less susceptible to viruses just because you feel protected. According to kidshealth.org, most colds are caused by viruses, carried in invisible droplets in the air or on the surfaces that we touch, usually rhinoviruses. There is no relationship of causation between catching colds and not wearing enough layers. The correlation is between dry atmospheres and other factors linked with colder weather and viruses. But first, dry atmospheres lower resistance to viruses that cause colds. So it's actually much more effective to wear a mask and wash your hands than it is to wear a sweater. There's a reason doctors asked you to mask up during COVID and not slip on your jackets. A common cold is usually transmitted through coughs, sneezes, and nose blowings. So really, you're just as susceptible to a cold indoors as you are outdoors. Oh, and you want to know what's really making you sick? Coughing into your hands. And then using that hand to touch other surfaces and your phone and everything. So why do more people get sick in the winter then, if layers have nothing to do with it? Many reasons actually. For one, the dry atmosphere that I mentioned before. So basically, the dryness in the air makes our noses dry, which lowers our first line of defense. The mucus in our nose and our throats. Germs are usually trapped in the mucous membranes in our nose, whose effectiveness may be influenced by the humidity. Another reason is that the temperature makes more people stay indoors. A lot of people don't touch grass regardless, so it's just a lot more people inside. More people inside means you're around more people, increasing your exposure to germs. Viruses can be transmitted through inhalation or touching a contaminated surface, and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. If everyone's inside, then more surfaces are more likely to be contaminated. So there are definitely indirect factors at play to people getting sick in cold weather. But to reiterate, if you guys didn't hear me the first time, wearing sweaters and coats have nothing to do with it. Nothing directly, at least. A third reason is, and this is more of a theory from what I've read, while the cold itself does not make you get sick by itself, your immune system functions best when your body temperature is well regulated. The cold might throw this off balance, so it is entirely possible that the dysregulation of your body temperature affects your immune system, which affects how vulnerable you are to getting a cold. It's like being more vulnerable to threats when you're tired. Another theory is that in your nose, you're actively fighting the virus and keeping it dormant. If your body takes that energy to stay warm, you have less energy fighting dangers. This also makes your nose and throat cooler, and rhinoviruses duplicate faster in cooler temperatures. That last one is scientifically proven. A last theory of why we tend to be sicker in colder months is because we're exposed to less vitamin D. Vitamin D helps maintain our immune system, and a lack of it would make our immune system weaker. But learning all of this, you might think, where does this belief even come from? And since we don't even need the jacket, should we even wear it? Since we get sick during winter months, it's probably a correlation that people have picked up on without actually knowing the science behind it. Correlation does not equal causation. It's also something that parents have been telling their kids for years, but I can't seem to find a specific time when this rumor seemed to gain traction, so that question is left unanswered. So it's something that people have started to view as common sense, without actually knowing any scientific evidence to back it up. And while grandparents and parents are mostly right about treating a cold, resting, drinking water, etc., this is something that they unfortunately got wrong. There's also the belief that going to bed with your hair wet and sleeping or sitting in a windy area will make you sick. These are also false. And while sleeping with your hair wet doesn't make you sick, it does cause damage to your hair. The main reason for this is that your hair is weaker when it's wet. And because of this weakened state, your hair is more vulnerable and prone to breakage. Also because of this weakened state, you know what else you're more prone to? Fungal infection on your head. Most of which aren't as disgusting as the word fungal makes it out to be, but will end in things like dandruff and dermatitis. Dandruff, if you don't know, is a common condition where small pieces of dry scalp flake from the scalp, and dermatitis just causes swelling and irritation of the skin. Thank you to Mayo Clinic for these definitions. And chances are you've probably heard of these conditions before, because they're both pretty common and entirely treatable. Worst case scenario, sleeping on damp hair is much better than sleeping on wet hair. This means at least a little bit of blow drying and air drying before sleep. But also in this scenario, if you have to go to sleep with damp hair, Healthline says to condition your hair, dry and detangle your hair as much as possible, and sleep with a silk pillowcase. Even though there's no direct correlation between silk pillows and hair health, it's good for the skin because it reduces friction and dryness of the skin, which you have up here. So it's thought that silk may lessen the damage if you sleep with your hair wet. But also to tap back to the sitting and sleeping in the wind belief, the wind doesn't carry viruses. And you're just as much at risk of contracting viruses on a non-windy day as you are on a windy day. These beliefs, in short, are grasping a loose straw without knowing about the whole stack of hay. But to answer the last question, if you should even wear a coat, yes, you probably should. Because 1, it's comfortable. And 2, holding a coat over your mouth and nose to breathe more body heat would help a stuffy nose. Sweaters and jackets still act as a barrier between external cold air and the warm layer of air at the skin. Also, if you want to stay comfortable and not sick, here are some science-backed tips to prevent sickness. 1. Wash your hands. 2. Participate in some kind of physical exercise. 3. Using a humidifier indoors can address the dry atmosphere problem. 4. Eat nutrient-rich foods with plenty of fruits and vegetables. This includes things like salmon, kale, seaweed, garlic, shellfish, potatoes, berries, and eggs. And apparently dark chocolate is on this list as well, but we'll come back to that in a minute. The 5th and final tip I have for keeping your body in tip-top shape for fighting infections is sleeping. Anyway, returning to the dark chocolate. How is chocolate on this list of nutrient-rich foods? And why only dark chocolate? According to UC Davis Health, dark chocolate is rich in plant chemicals called flavonols. Flavonols are antioxidants linked with lower risk of heart disease. Harvard Health explains antioxidants as compounds that help your body fight off unstable molecules that damage DNA, cell membranes, and other parts of the cell. So in theory, dark chocolate will contain more flavonols than milk chocolate, and white chocolate just contains none at all. Dark chocolate is also a good source of fiber, vitamins, and minerals. No, wearing a jacket does not make you less susceptible to illness. It keeps you warm, which might indirectly help, but in the end, colds are caused by viruses, which can be found everywhere, at any time. Getting sick is associated with winter because of the dry conditions and greater exposure to germs during these months. But the cold is not a direct cause. And keep in mind, other things like sleeping with your hair wet and sleeping when it's windy doesn't make you sick either. Sickness is caused by viruses. The weather can't create viruses. They just create better atmospheres and environments for viruses to duplicate in.